Oh, snap. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. My name is Patrick. If you like true crime, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. How many people we got waiting? About 100 people waiting. Y'all, take a second. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. 100 likes. Let's get it. How fast? TikTok. We're live on TikTok as well. Thanks for being here, y'all. Make sure you hit the follow button. Tap the screen a few 100,000 times as well. Let's get 25,000 likes. Thank you for that. Thanks for the little bear things too, y'all. Very sweet. Okay, Mica Miller. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, like a whole lot of stuff. So I saw this channel. Her name's Lauren. She's got a channel called Hidden True Crime. So make sure you go subscribe to her. Go give her a subscribe. Go check out all of her videos. Do it right now. And then we're going to listen to this one because this said Mica Miller. It came out, I think, today or yesterday or today. It said Mica Miller, Mica Francis, JP Miller, the full story. Okay, we're going to give it a listen to. I'm probably going to be a little bit of a refresher, but I think there's some new stuff in the end. Let's give it a go. You guys ready for this one? Who's in the chat, by the way? Is anybody in the YouTube chat? I can't see you guys. Oh, there it is. Thanks for the likes, y'all. 50 likes, halfway to 100. Let's go. All right. Lauren, Hidden True Crime. Let's see what she's got to say.
Hello, Hidden Gems. During Chad Daybell's trial, while I was away reporting daily in Idaho, John and I noted a suspicious death that police deemed a
the investigation into the sudden death of a popular South Carolina pastor's wife.
Police will meet with the family of a woman found dead under suspicious circumstances.
The death of Mica Miller has affected us, especially Dr. John, and has sparked many conversations at our dinner table as well as on the phone while I was away attending Chad Daybell's trial. We realized that it is time to talk about it. And for John, a forensic and clinical psychologist, he will soon discuss what he sees when it comes to the death of Mica Miller. 30-year-old Mica Miller's body was found on April 27th, 2024 in Lumber River State Park, about an hour and a half drive from Myrtle Beach. Police say a 911 call came from the park, and police say Mica made the call. On the now released 911 call, the caller says she plans to take her own life.
JG, it's The Mystery Project. Just search The Mystery Project on YouTube. You'll find it.
Robeson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
I can't get over that voice back there that sounds like it says my folder or Mica folder.
Let me see. You don't know where you're at?
In National Park.
What's the phone number you're calling me from?
843-655-5242.
Where's the park located at?
In Fair Bluff.
Let's see.
I have my location on, I think, on my phone. Find my phone is on. I just did my my location.
Okay.
Yeah, it is so weird, y'all. I see all the comments on YouTube. It's quiet. That is weird because I've heard interviews they did with like the fisherman guy and you know, people out there, and it's loud as hell. There's a woodpecker back there doing some work, but I don't hear any of that right now. It's just, and all I hear is like an echo, which I know phones can echo, but that's all I hear. It's weird. The delay is disturbing. Yep. Let's keep going.
I'm sure.
By the way, YouTube, hit the like button real quick. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. We're trying to get 100 likes. We need 24 more to go. TikTok, hit the follow button. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you tap the screen a few thousand times. And thanks for the little bear things, y'all. Very much appreciated. Let's keep going.
Hold on one second. I don't think you are in Robeson County.
Whoa, what the hell?
Are you at the Lumber River State Park? In
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay. Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself,
Whoop. Virginia, thank you.
and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
When police arrived, they found 30-year-old Mica
My goodness.
deceased, and police say her cause of death was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It wasn't long after her death that the public learned Mica was an incredibly beloved woman, sister, daughter, friend, and faithful churchgoer. We learned she was someone extremely active in the church's youth program, was called beautiful, inside and out, uplifting, inspiring, and giving. Those who knew her said she helped children, women, and was service oriented. A fellow churchgoer at Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, where she attended, described Mica as, quote, the nicest person you ever talked to, end quote. It also wasn't long after her death that rumors started swirling about Mica's husband.
There's got to be some accountability here.
The local pastor at Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, where she attended, Pastor John Paul Miller, a man she was divorcing and a man who many say was abusive, who people say Mica met when she was just a 14-year-old girl, but now, as a 30-year-old woman, was seemingly trying to escape. As pastor, it was Mica's husband who broke the news of her death to the couple's Solid Rock Church's congregation. It's one reason the rumors started swirling so suddenly, because many considered the sermon out of touch and insensitive. He even concluded,
or just flat out crazy as hell. Then he tried. Y'all, did you see the video that he posted on TikTok or whatever, where he's like trying to justify that? And he's like, I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. Huh?
the church meeting by asking everyone in the congregation to leave and not to mingle afterwards.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit, because I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks, I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away, and it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina, and we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. Yeah, I'm just kind of going on.
Man, I don't know, y'all. My spidey senses are tingling. See what I did there? See what I did there? Because he had a Spider-Man. He was dressed like Spider-Man. He had a big Spider-Man. Something's weird. As a collective whole, you know how all of us got that vibe, and the reason that this is in this video right here, because we're like, something don't make sense here. Something doesn't quite add up. But let's keep it going.
Adrenaline right now, so y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And she wasn't. Y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her.
John Paul's announced,
God almighty. If somebody I love passes away, which, I mean, I guess we're supposed to say that everybody grieves differently, right? But my God, that was absolutely horrendous. Like, I've seen people give better announcements that, like, their pets have passed away than that. Like, the craziest thing. Negativity. Y'all know she wasn't well mentally. Not really appropriate. Not a good time to start taking jabs at her. God. Man, I don't know. I don't know these people. He's innocent until proven guilty. No charges filed on him. Nothing. So take it all with a grain of salt. But holy hell.
Of Mica's death created quite the stir and left many true crime creators and sleuths wondering if there might be more to this than a suicide.
Right.
Mica's obituary didn't help either. Allegedly written by her husband, it contained the line, quote, Mica made the greatest of efforts to always be the best wife she could be. She truly served Jesus and her husband with all of her heart. She would praise her husband after every church service, telling him he was the best preacher in the world, end quote. It sounded self-centered at best. After praising himself in her obituary, John Paul started claiming in interviews with local news outlets that Mica had struggled with suicidal tendencies.
So over the years since we've been married, some people struggle with high blood pressure, some struggle with diabetes, or struggle with mental health. And whenever she stayed on her lithium, things were amazing. She'd come off sometimes and things would get a little unusual. Per her doctors, they told her even just recently they had written that she was homicidal, suicidal, and she had struggled with suicide before, and each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And so this past time was still a shock, an incredible shock.
But Mica's family sided with those questioning John Paul and the questions surrounding Mica's death. 1 week after Mica's body was found, her sister Sierra filed a request to be the special administrator of Mica's estate. In the filing, Sierra makes some shocking allegations, and I'll read it in full. I am Mica's younger sister, having been raised by our parents, Michael and Angelita, with our siblings, Nathaniel, Destiny, Anna, and Abby. We ultimately settled in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in 2007 with our mom and stepdad. I was aware of Mica's family dynamics and relationship with her husband, respondent John Paul Miller, and her stepchildren. Mica and I spoke every few days, texting daily, so much as to even create playlists together. Mica would drive to visit me with my family in Gaffney, South Carolina, at least once a month. I know my sister to have expressed the abuse and violence against her by her husband to others, including family members and members of the church congregation. Mica told me that there were people following her, keeping track of where she went. She thought that Mr. Miller hired people to follow her. Mr. Miller later confirmed this during a sermon I watched. And Mica confided in me that Mr. Miller was moving assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks to one of his sons. In February 2024, Mr. Miller removed my sister's personal items from the home they shared while she was admitted to a mental health facility and left them at the apartment of a woman named Diana. My sister was not aware that her personal possessions had been removed from her residence until she was released from the hospital. Prior to her admission to the mental health facility, Mica was gathering and sorting the evidence that she had to bring to an attorney for filing for divorce to support her claims against Mr. Miller. And as to his abuse, character, his paramours, and associates, he paid off or blackmailed. While at the facility, those documents, emails, files, etc., were removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle, and purse, and never recovered. Further, Mica wasn't able to access her iCloud account, email, or Facebook profile. Mr. Miller continued using at least one of Mica's accounts, causing any recipient to believe it was Mica's communications. Mica talked about what she wanted her life to be like following her divorce from Mr. Miller. Having traveled for a church mission this past fall from October 15th through October 27th, 2023, Mica was intending to participate in additional missions, even to live part-time in Kenya. Mica recently shipped some of her personal items to Kenya in preparation of her stay there. My sister was hopeful for her future after filing for divorce from John Paul. My sister also expressed to me that she was fearful that she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her. It is my belief, based on conversations with my sister, that she told multiple people, including other family members. Mica stated to me on many occasions, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me. It was JP," end quote. Mica forwarded a family group text message notifying us that Mr. Miller was
I mean, come on.
served the divorce papers on April 25th, 2024. On April 27th, 2024, my sister, Mica Miller, was found dead as a result of a gunshot wound in Lumberton, North Carolina. End quote. So her sister Sierra makes some shocking allegations. And yet, when you delve further, the allegations are not that far fetched. Police reports show that on March 11th, 2024, about a month before Mica's last separation filing, Mica told police her tires had been slashed at a pier in Myrtle Beach. She claimed this was the second time that her tires had been deflated that week. And police confirmed that a tire deflation device that you can buy online was sticking out of one of her tires. Later that day, when she went to repair her tires, she called police again to say a tracking device was found on her car. And she told police who she suspected was watching her. Although police say they never charged the suspect that they didn't name because they didn't have enough evidence.
You what? That part drives me crazy too. What else do you need? Oh my gosh. Not a rock, but an actual tire deflation device. A tracker. All the stuff. There's not enough evidence here. No. Tire deflation device? No, not enough evidence. GPS tracking device? Not enough evidence.
How dare you?
That is absurd. YouTube, do me a favor. Everybody watching, hit the subscribe button. My name's Patrick. If you're new, hit the thumbs up too. If we can get 200 likes, that would be awesome. It just helps spread the word about the live stream. Same thing on TikTok, y'all. I see about 600 of y'all over on TikTok. Hit the follow button. My name's Patrick. Tap the screen like crazy. Let's get 25,000 likes. I appreciate the love and the support. Thanks for being here, y'all. Jenny, thank you for that. Spiritual Diamond, thank you for that. Let's keep it going, y'all.
According to police reports, the suspect attempted to again bother Mica hours after she made the report. She said he'd also been harassing her with texts and calls. Most importantly, Mica told police that she feared for her life. So
that's all the evidence you need. Oh my God. Does it get any clearer than that? I fear for my life. Oh, not enough evidence. Huh? What? That is so sad. There's KK. Thank you for that.
Who is John Paul Miller, Mica's estranged husband and local pastor? Beyond Mica being his second marriage and the stepmother to his 5 children, we know so much more since family and friends started speaking up. And as true crime sleuths delved into Mica's life and relationship, bringing truth to the surface. First, let's start with John Paul's confession in reference to the tracking devices sent to News Nation after Mica's death. Quote,
yeah.
I hired a PI to put trackers on her car to know if she was going to a gun store because she kept trying to get a gun the past few months. I never once in my life hurt her in any way, ever. End quote. And what else do we know? Well, Mike.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
Mica and John Paul were wed in 2017, and Mica filed not just one, but three separate support and maintenance requests beginning in 2023, meaning Mica could continue to receive court-ordered support during the separation. And get this, Mica had filed for separation from John Paul only 12 days before her death. Mica had also filed for divorce not once, but twice, that second time just days before her death, and the first time being October 2023. And in those documents, Mica claims again that John Paul cheated on her often and threatened her with locking her out of her own house, telling the church congregation through sermons about her mental health issues and throwing her belongings out of the house. Mica would stay with her sister, according to the sister, and the 911 calls made.
The worst part is too, y'all, it's that poor woman had to put up with all of that craziness, all all that stuff. And I mean, here's the big deal. I feel like I have mental problems now listening to his stories and listening to him and going through all this. And we've dealt with it now for what? A month and a half? Almost 2 months? I feel like you know what I'm saying? Imagine she had to deal with this for years since she was 14. His this and that, and I mean, oh my God. We see videos of him in his 30s crying in the grass, being like, I thought I was going to go meet Jesus. What was he like when he was in his 20s? What was it like when he was in his 20s and younger than that? If that's the mature version, what the hell? Unbelievable, y'all. Thanks for liking the video. We're almost to 200 YouTube. YouTube, hit that little thumbs up button. Christy, thank you for joining the channel. You are a felony? What? Christy, thank you for becoming a felony on the YouTube channel. Very sweet of you guys. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the hell out of it. Thank you so much. But you know what I'm saying, y'all? Like, it's unbelievable. And let's keep going, shall we? Let's keep going.
Mica's sister said John Paul was waiting outside of Mica's house with a gun. Listen to this 911 call.
Yeah, this kind of stuff too.
Confirming this.
I need to report a non-emergency at this point.
Okay, what's going on?
My sister came here today to visit because her and her husband were having issues. She came from Myrtle. She told him she'll be home on Tuesday. And he was texting me at this point saying, I'll be at your house at 12:55. I'm armed and ready, and I will keep you up all night. I'm going to get her back.
Oh,
and I said, you're not welcome at my house. There are no trespassing signs up. You cannot threaten weapons. He has 6 guns he just purchased recently. And he's saying, I'm armed and ready.
Mica ended up returning home. And 4 months later, in February of this year, Mica was admitted to a hospital because, according to John Paul, she was not taking her medication and having a psychotic break. John Paul allegedly had power of attorney.
I need medication now. We all need medication now. Dealing with you for 2 months. Not even. Every time you post a video on TikTok, I feel like I'm going to have a psychotic break. Because I have to listen to you. And you know, honestly, y'all, okay, even we all know what we all think, right? But even if he had nothing to do, well, it's hard to say even if he had nothing to do with, because it definitely seems like he had a lot to do with, but like the actual act, right? Like something criminal. Even if he didn't do anything criminal, I feel like it should be criminal to be the way that he is. Like, I feel like we should be able to go, you are a gigantic pile of human waste. No more, you know? It's one of those things, isn't it? Just if being was illegal. Whoa. Anyways.
Over Mica's medical care. And during this time, Mica's divorce filings were dismissed. So this was all February 2024. And John Paul also took control of Mica's purse and car keys while she was in the hospital, while the divorce was dismissed, an action that he justified, claiming that his concern for Mica's mental state, manic episodes, impulsive spending, and he had concerns, get this, about her selling the car. Hence, he took the car keys. No, he wasn't concerned about Mica harming herself.
Excessive spending?
Just selling the car. Hence, he needed to take her keys. And
bro, she bought a Celsius. Calm the down. Don't piss me off. She paid her registration and bought a damn Celsius. I'm going to rage flip my desk right now. I'm going to rage flip my desk. Driving me nuts.
He also claimed he was worried Mica might buy a gun to, get this, shoot him. Again, no actual concern for Mica or any self-harm. So Mica's family, they call John Paul manipulative and is...
A lot of people would think that if that scenario would have happened, that she'd have been doing the world a favor. She'd have got a medal. The 27th of April would be Mica's day. It should be actually, but in a different way.
Claims false. They say that she never stopped taking any medications. They say her mental illness was exaggerated. And Mica's dad claims that John Paul showed him the power of attorney over Mica's care and that they weren't signed. And he suspects John Paul manipulated or even created fake power of attorney forms. So if this isn't heavy enough, we learned that Mica and John Paul met nearly a decade before they wed, when she was just 14 or 15 years old, depending on who you ask or the story people say. And
it doesn't matter. Either one is horrible. Even if she was 18, horrible. Even if it was last week, horrible. Meeting that man is like meeting the devil, in my opinion.
She was in the church youth group, leading many to believe he groomed Mica, since John Paul would have been 28 years old when they met. And according to John Paul's...
What?
Yeah, you can burn in hell for that one.
You what?
You can burn in hell for that one.
Ex-girlfriend in a Facebook post, this wouldn't be unfathomable. Cherish Every states, quote, "While posting updates, I am going to speak out on the Mica Miller case. I am an ex of John Paul Miller. I was 14 years old and he was 19. I was a child, but at
there you go. That's illegal.
FBI, open up!
the time I didn't see an issue, but at 19, obviously he should have. We dated for a year and I found out that he was dating his first wife, Allie, while we were together, unbeknownst to her. She later found out and he lied about it, as he continued to do about the multitude of infidelities the remainder."
What?
Bruh.
JP lying? No.
Of the marriage. This has been hard to watch and keep quiet about, but I feel it is time to be transparent about it. I attended and graduated from Grand Strand Academy, later renamed Cathedral Hall Academy, the church and school his father founded and was headmaster of.
Sweet baby Jesus, that is terrible. Angie, thank you. Good to see you. Y'all, thanks for those.
Which later became Solid Rock. So I dated John Paul and dealt with a small amount of his abuse comparatively. JP also contacted me inappropriately after Allie left him due to infidelity around 2016.
So that's when he got with Mica. Well, didn't they get married in 16?
Was not remorseful of his actions to her with others, was upset over the amount of people that left the church that hurt him financially, and was quickly shut down on my end.
Melanie, thank you.
What I did witness with myself and my siblings as members of the church as teenagers is overall abuse from JP and his father, Dr. Wayne Miller, to others. I also visited many state parks with JP, visiting his dad because he loved state parks to reconnect with God. Myrtle Beach State Park is also where Dr. Miller was arrested with soliciting gay sex. You can look that up.
La, la, la. TikTok overlords, entertainment and educational purposes only.
Publicly. The fact that Mica was found in a state park only brings me back to this family. I feel I have been a coward in not speaking up and dealing with this privately with my family, but I want to say we believe that this was Mica's last and oh so important purpose, is to stop this man from continuing to hurt others and to stop him as a representative of our Lord and Savior. I am a Christian and I love the Lord so much, and I want to say that what John Paul Miller and Dr. Wayne Miller represents is not of God, and it is not a representation of Jesus Christ. God is good and pure and kind, and he would never want a man to treat his wife the way JP treated Mica.
Even religion out of this, you don't treat people like that. You definitely don't treat people like that. In like ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what you believe in. You don't treat people like that. You don't. You don't treat people you hate like that. YouTube, do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 14 likes away from 200. Everybody watching, just hit the little thumbs up. It helps support the show and the channel and spread the word about the video. Hit the subscribe button too. We got about 400 people watching. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, I'm literally live every night, virtually every night. Even Father's Day. My little man's asleep, so here I am. TikTok, same thing. Hit the follow button. Tap the screen like crazy. We got 35,000 likes. I appreciate that. Thanks for the little bear things too. Love you guys. All right, let's keep it going.
Please do not let this evil man turn you away from the church. The church of God is so beautiful and good, and this man is an evil representation of someone that took advantage of that. Do not let the devil win. Hashtag justice for Mica. Hashtag Mica Miller. End quote. Also, in a 2017 affidavit, John Paul's ex-wife, so the mother to his children, claims that John Paul admitted to her he had sex with church members and that they were under the age of 16.
You gonna burn in hell for that one?
Admitted to sleeping with prostitutes, even maybe having an addiction to prostitutes.
Oh my God. Daydreamer, thank you.
And she claims John Paul was having an affair with Mica in 2015 when she was her children's babysitter. The ex-wife, Allie, claims that John Paul not only admitted this to her, but confessed to his entire church congregation, who recommended counseling, and that he refused, as well as refused to leave his position in the church, forcing many disheartened church members to walk away. We'll get more into these details here shortly. Don't worry. John Paul's numerous affairs seem to pan out too, and it looks like he even had a current girlfriend at the time of Mica's death. And interesting to note, the girlfriend's husband died 3 years ago from what was determined to be an accidental drowning. Husband was in a wheelchair and somehow rolled into a pool and wasn't found until it was too late. And, okay, are you ready for this? John Paul conducted the late husband's funeral.
Wow.
A timeline of events leading to Mica's death was posted by a man named Robbie Harvey. And according to Harvey, he brings up some additional strange sermons and actions taken by John Paul. Harvey states, and I quote, "On February 4th, Pastor John Paul preaches a sermon on Korah and Moses and how it's wrong to rise against religious leaders. On February 23rd, Pastor John Paul files for spousal support. On February 25th, in another sermon to his congregation, Pastor John Paul says a mentally ill person doesn't know that they're sick. You have to trust people around you, the thing that's sick in your mind." And
he filed for spousal support. He wanted her to pay him.
You what?
Is that real? Can I get thumbs up in the chat, y'all? Is that what that... Did he really file for spousal support from her? Please tell me that's not real. I'm waiting for y'all. Thumbs up if that's real. Thumbs down, no. I see a thumbs up. I see some thumbs up coming in. You know what it's called, JP? Here's a little spousal support for you. Get a fucking job. People aren't believing your stuff anymore. I won't call it a sermon. People aren't believing it. Get a job. Go do something. Oh my God.
your mind is what you need to realize, that you're sick. On March 10th, Pastor John Paul preaches a sermon and reveals that he went through 2 years of messages on his wife's phone. He found that 18 people reached out to her saying, quote, "If you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and I'll keep it."
That's the crazy. This dude sat there and read through 2 years of text messages.
You what?
Get out of here with that. Bro, I can't even read one text message. Somebody sends me something that looks like this. TLDR. Too long. Didn't read. I can't deal with it.
Confidential, end quote. Visibly upset, the pastor.
I don't even read emails, y'all. Hell no. I read the subject line. That's it. I got no time to Sit there and read the rest of a damn email. Subject line. That's it.
Followed up with, "That's a demon talking," end quote. March 10th, Pastor John Paul says to his congregation, "One thing I'm going to preach about is getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus," end quote, while wearing his wedding ring.
Wow.
March 10th, Pastor John Paul tells his congregation that his wife was in the hospital, and as soon as she got out, she left him. In quotes, John Paul says, "She gets out and she just leaves, just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and
Oh, I wonder why, man. Oh my God. Why did she leave me? Why? I wonder why. Oh my God. I wonder why she left you. Take some accountability. You know exactly why she left you. She doesn't trust you. And to be fair, I wouldn't trust you making hamburger helper, much less anything else. I'm losing my mind tonight, y'all. I'm losing my damn cool. I'm losing my cool with this man. Wild Loves, thank you for the Rumble rant. Every time I see the ex-wife, I can't help but think he groomed Mica, who looked a lot like her, by the way, because he wanted the younger version of his wife. I don't like it. I can see that.
How dare you?
And that's... Thank you for the Rumble rant. Kira? Is it Kira? It's Kira, I believe, right? Kira Allen, thank you for the Rumble rant as well. Hi, Patrick. I just want to say how much I enjoy your show, especially your coverage of Mica Miller, in quotation marks, Francis. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Very sweet of you. Thank you for the Rumble rants, y'all. I appreciate that. Yeah, this guy. He's nuts, isn't he? All right, let's go.
just goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed.
Oh, cool. You're still going to burn in hell.
End quote. March 12th, Pastor John Paul requests for spousal support.
Why not? You know what you should build? A submarine. You know what you should control it with? A damn joystick off of Amazon. Then you know what you do? You take that down to go visit the Titanic. That's what you should do.
Report was dismissed, and there's no explanation as to why. March 17th, Pastor John Paul tells a story of a pastor whose wife
Honestly, thank you. C. Bobon, thank you. I got Ducky. Oh, Ducky, thank you.
Left him for a member of his staff. The pastor had hired a third-party company to find her. Once he found her, divorce papers were drawn up. When the time came to sign the papers, the pastor couldn't do it because, quote, Bible says divorce is wrong, end quote. And if she wanted out, she would have to leave him. March 17th, in a Facebook post made by Mica's sister, Sierra Francis, she says that she kept an eye on her phone, in quotes, for fear of my sister's safety due to other behaviors towards her, end quote. She goes on to mention the sermon from March 17th and calls out the congregation of Solid Rock Church. And on March 18th, Mica posts a video encouraging others. She says, quote, I'm just making sure my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. And
that picture of them right there, he looks crazy as hell right there. Like, he really does. Like, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy right there. You know what I mean? Like, he looks crazy as hell.
Quote.
Hey, everybody. I just want to let you know that I'm alive and well, and life's been kind of crazy the couple past weeks, months, years, but I've kind of had to keep my circle really small.
She's such a beautiful soul. It is so tragic that this guy found her, you know, like did what he did to her.
For the past couple weeks, just because I'm going through a lot and it's hard and it's my cross to bear. It's the thing that God has put in my life to deal with, and I don't want to bring a lot of people into it. I'm so thankful to God for a strong family and the friends that God has put in my life to be there for me at this time. I just wanted to share that my heart and my prayer is that the church would stay strong, that y'all would stick together, because the church is God's people. It's not a man, it's not a person, it's not me, it's God's people, the bride of Christ. And there's a lot of really good people in the church that that I just hope would continue on, press toward the calling, run your race, stay encouraged, stay in your word, keep worshiping. Like I can't wait to worship again with everybody, but for now I'm just worshiping with me and Jesus to God. And I don't think God would be pleased with me if I just jumped right into missions and women's events and creative directing and worship leading and stuff. I think when your world is shook up, you need to take a pause. And I can only pray that more people will take a pause and I'm trying to get my priorities straight right now. And that's making sure that my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace.
Well,
because you can't put a price on peace from God. So thank you for all your prayers and support. Know that
and that crazy man was put in that letter like, you don't know how to take care of a husband. All that's what? Are you? Yes. Never mind. I'm not even gonna ask it because I already know the answer, and it's yes. How the hell can you listen to somebody talk like that and be like, they're not a good person? What?
I have to keep my circle really, really small right now. I'm used to having a really big circle, so it's hard because I want to reach out to everybody and tell you how much I love you and I miss you. But this is the best way that I know how. So I love you all. I miss you. Thank you for your love and support over the last couple years. And some of you, up to 18 years walking with me as my friends. And for right now, I've just had to put everything on pause to get myself right. And I think God's happy with that. So keep praying for me. Thank you. And I love you. I'll be praying for you.
You know what I noticed there too? And this is just an observation. She's incredible, first off. But did you notice that she tends to take a lot of breath, like loud breath, right before she talks or right after she talks? So she says, oh, this, that, the other. And then she takes a lot of like deep breaths. And I didn't hear any breathing in that 911 call. It's weird. She probably recorded that with her phone, right? That's what everybody does. Record videos with your phone. So it's probably the same microphone, the same phone. And I just hum, 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 hum. It's weird, isn't it? Maybe, who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We just hope and pray that if anybody is responsible for something, that they're brought to justice. YouTube, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. My name's Patrick. Hit the thumbs up button. Most importantly, we're at 228 likes. We're trying to get to 300. We got 420 people watching. So everybody watching, just do me a favor, hit the little thumbs up real quick. It's down there next to the video or under the video or wherever it is. But hit it real quick. Let's get to 300 likes. TikTok, thanks for being here too. Tap the screen like crazy. Hit the follow button. If you want to watch the video with us, pop on over to YouTube. Search The Mystery Project on YouTube. It should be pinned on the screen. Thank you for the love. Y'all, thanks for the little bears too. We're almost there. Thank you for that. I appreciate the love and the support during the live streams. You guys don't have to, but I appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
March 22nd, Mica posts another video suggesting she was being abused physically and mentally. She also says, quote, God hates divorce, but how does God feel about abuse? End quote. She also suggests that her husband forced her to take illegal drugs.
I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me. Male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse.
That look, y'all.
Or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife.
Or that Jesus won't like it, or that God won't like it, or that it goes against the teachings of the Bible and all that.
Or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are.
You should have given a dang thing, unfortunately.
God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
April 16th.
That's the hardest part too, is listening to her try to get to the point where she feels justified in going through with the divorce, because she feels like or she must have at some point, it seems like she felt like it wasn't the Christian thing to do. And it's so heartbreaking. You just want to go, Mica, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It is 100% okay to get out of that, because it also says, and I'm pretty sure, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but one of those 10 commandments was not to commit adultery. Sounds like he did that quite a bit. In fact, we know that for sure, and she knew that for sure because he was married. It says not to lie, doesn't it? Oh, here's a big one. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Didn't he literally say he fell in love with her, or he knew that he loved her when he saw her walking down the aisle to marry the other guy? Her first husband? Man.
Mica files for spousal support. April 23rd, a hearing notice was sent out for Mica's request. A court date for June 5th was set. April 27th, Mica Miller is found dead. End quote. That concludes Harvey's entire post and timeline. Lastly, John Paul's background check shows multiple traffic violations, but then, more shocking, especially for a Christian pastor, a conviction for assault and battery. In 1999, years before meeting Mica.
Yeah, this part's crazy as hell too.
He allegedly hit a woman with...
This shows you how emotional and crazy and irrational he is back then, doing something like this.
This car twice.
And unfortunately, that kind of stuff doesn't change. Or if it does, it takes a whole lot of work that it doesn't seem like he really puts the work in.
Dragging her down the street. Mica had numerous memorial services, mainly because of the rift between her husband and her family. And at Mica's funeral held at the Solid Rock Church, footage of John Paul's sermon and eulogy made its way onto the web.
I've been speaking for many years, and for the first time,
Why is he wearing the same shirt that he was wearing the other one? Is that the same shirt?
really know exactly, how to open or how to close or any of that. I'm just, everyone knew how beautiful she was on the outside, but only, I think, a spouse knows how beautiful that person is on the inside. So I want to take a few minutes to just kind of tell some stories and just share some things about Mica that you may have.
Here's the worst part, you garbage human being. You never got to know the true beauty of that woman. You never got to see it. Because for that to come out, she'd have to feel like she's safe. She'd have to feel like she's with her partner, her soulmate, the man that she's supposed to be with. So you never got to see that. You never got to even experience that. You never will. You never would have. And the craziest part is you never will with anybody. And you know why? Maybe it seems to me because you love yourself more than you could ever love anybody else. So that typically means those people die alone and miserable.
I don't know, shock you or help you get to know the more intimate side of her. She was beautiful on the outside. She had won so many beauty pageants, all when she was young, and I have one of her trophies here where she won Saucus the Idol. Let me tell you, just to talk about how pretty she was on the outside. When she went to one school, she won the Miss whatever the school was beauty pageant, and then her family moved and she went to another school and she won the Miss Beauty pageant for that school too. So it was the first time in that county's history that someone won, both the pageants. But it really hadn't hit me. I've gotten to spend, as Christians, of course, we know she's not here and in heaven, and she's worshiping and enjoying, and I hadn't even had time to look down here yet. But I got this lay next to her body and spent time with her body about 4 times this week, and each time it still didn't hit me. I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week, and
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Oh my God. Even if, and y'all, this is a huge if, even in like some alternate dimension where he's being genuine right here, it still sucks. You know what I mean? Like even in the like the Mandela effect alternate reality where this is genuine and this is just how it is, it still sucks. It's still stupid. It's still horrible. It's still cringy. It's still disgusting. It's still all the words that I can't say on TikTok. Sorry, TikTok. Come over to YouTube, The Mystery Project. It's weird. Y'all, 21 more likes on YouTube for 300. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that little thumbs up button, would you? Hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate it. TikTok, hit the follow button. Tap screen like crazy. And 55 more of those little bear things. If you want to, I appreciate it. Let's keep going. Oh, almost 50,000 likes. TikTok, keep tapping the screen. Here we go.
And that morning, actually, I went to the mall later. She had bought me this dog tag, and the chain broke, so I went to the mall to get it fixed. And I saw a female about 20, 30 feet in front of me, and she was wearing one of Mica's dresses. And she had the same tattoo Mica has on her arm and the exact same hair. And out of just instinct, I screamed, "Mica!" And the girl turned, and it was one of her sisters. And I thought I raised her from the dead. She's alive, But I can't wait to see her again one day.
You won't. You ain't going where she's going. That's for damn sure.
She would make me turn my cell phone off, and so I turn the cell phone off, and we would talk for hours and hours about, well, let me rephrase it, she would talk for hours and hours and hours, and sometimes I would kind of not listen. I thought, oh no, is she going to ask me a question? I'd get back in my mind to what we're talking about, and she would change
Y'all have no idea why it's sped up like that. That's not me.
subject. She'd go from one thing to the next, and imagine being married to that.
Imagine being married to you. Imagine being married to that.
I think
everything he says, just turn it around. Like literally everything he says, just look at it. It's like a fortune cookie, right? Read it and then put like in bed at the end. Remember we used to do that? Just everything he says, just turn it around. Just turn it around. And you know what that's called? Projection.
How dare you?
I think that we can all understand the doubt surrounding Mica's death and why Mica's family and friends have such difficulty with the investigation's conclusion and the findings of Robeson County Medical Examiner.
I'm not going to judge my gut feeling. I don't agree. The young lady was energetic. She was making plans. It just doesn't sound like someone committing. It sounds like someone that's getting ready to live life again, really starting her life over. And just going off what we've seen, what I witnessed, you know, the character and how treatment and how we were treated and talked to, and I just don't believe it for a minute.
You mentioned she was making plans. Like, what type of plans?
From what I understand, she had an appointment to get her hair done this week. She was looking forward to moving on. She had filed paperwork and just served it 2 days prior.
So not behavior somebody who's planning to take their own life.
Not if I'm thinking about. I'm not worried about court dates and paperwork or
car registrations.
Or my hair. It doesn't sound that to me.
So basically, his sentiments echo what the family's saying. They're asking for a deep investigation.
The public also continued to doubt the self-inflicted gunshot wound. And on May 7th, police released that 911 call you heard at the beginning of this episode. Here it is again.
Robeson County 911, what's the
Listen for the breaths, y'all. Listen for anything.
address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
Let me see. You don't know where you're at?
At National Park.
What's the phone number you're calling me from?
843-655-5242.
Where's the park located at?
In Fair Bluff.
Let's see.
I have my location on, I think, on my phone. Find my phone is on. I just did my my location.
Okay, I'm showing, hold on one second.
And the other thing that bugs me so much about this, y'all, it bugs me so much. Okay. You saw the videos where she's talking about how she's worried about divorce, and she's like, oh, you know, like divorce hurts people, you know, and that's why I think God is against it. But does abuse hurt people, right? She's so worried about and she makes it a big deal to really let us know that she's coming to a realization of a justification for getting divorced, y'all, right? Which I would say arguably is like one of the least sinful things happening nowadays, right? But yet she'll just do a call like this to say that she's going to delete herself, which is like one of the, I mean, you know what I mean? Like in the Christian faith, that's one of like the absolute worst things you can do, if not the worst thing you can do. But she just makes a calm, I just want to let you know where I am, because, you know, that like just calm, demeanored voice. But we get that passionate video about divorce. But not for this. That is weird. And she said she was asking questions. She was going around. The people I talked to about divorce, they say this. I was reading my Bible. It says this, this, this. But we just get a phone call to 911 saying this for something that serious? It's weird.
I don't think you are in Robeson County. Are you at the Lumber River State Park?
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay. Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill my.
Every time I hear that, it just like it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. That's why we're all talking about it.
Self, and
Thank you, Angie.
I just want my family to know where to find me.
Ugh.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
And that part drives me nuts too. Okay, ma'am. Hold on a second. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do this. They have to have protocol for that, right? And if she doesn't know it, get someone who does. Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at. No. Tell her you don't. Tell her, oh, it's going to take 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes. Hold on a second. We need somebody out at Lumber River State Park right now. Right now. Okay. Oh, ma'am, hold on. It says, the signals are triangulating. It's going to take another 20 minutes, and then get people out there to help her.
The Robeson County Sheriff's Office released their own timeline of events as well, including the use of a drone to find Mica's car in the parking lot, a gun safe, and ammo left in her car, and a receipt indicating that Mica herself purchased the gun earlier that day. According to police, Mica's Ring camera captures her leaving her residence in Myrtle Beach. And just 34 minutes later, she is captured on a security camera at Dick's Pawn Shop, buying a handgun and ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
She spends 22 minutes at the pawn shop, leaving the store at 12:34, and is captured on South Carolina Highway 501, traveling in her Honda Accord at 1:06 p.m. So Mica arrives at a grocery and grill in South Carolina, spending only 8 minutes buying gas and a drink, leaving at 1:35 p.m. And from there, sightings of Mica and the police timeline goes black until the 911 call at 2:54 p.m., an hour and 20 minutes after she purchased gas. As far as witnesses go, police say that while
How far is that gas station from the park? Does anybody know? How far? Shelly, thank you. Does anybody know? Is it an hour and 20 minutes away? Or like an hour away? And TikTok just went down. Oh, they said I have. Oh, I'm for 10 minutes, TikTok. Wow. TikTok, you are crazy as hell. YouTube, do me a favor, hit the like button, tap the screen like crazy. TikTok decided to say I can't talk about Mica Miller. Wow. 51 minutes, I heard an hour. Okay.
Responding to the 911 call inside the park looking for Mica, a man told police that he found Mica's ID in an abandoned bag, and that while fishing, he heard the cries of what sounded like a female, followed by a gunshot, and with the crying suddenly stopping right after the gunshot. And another boater also confirmed the sound of crying.
Had her license, her bank card. She had her keys in the bag. She had a little small Bible, all of her credit cards, her bank cards, and a few receipts of some things.
Johnny Jacobs says he retrieved the items from her black fanny pack here at the Lumber River State Park, the park where authorities say she took her own life. On the same day officials announced the details of her death, the family of Mica Miller, accompanied by a park ranger, ventured into the restricted area where Mica was tragically found, now seared into their memories in a silent tribute. Johnny Jacobs says he remembers hearing cries around that same area, and after hearing a single gunshot, the cry stopped.
Got in there with my little boat, and maybe 5 minutes after getting into the slough, I heard a cry, a faint cry. Heard it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and the crying stopped.
Jacobs says he was unable to see Miller at the time, but if she had been visible, he would have tried to help.
He was out, if it would have been a person out there crying in the opening where I could see him, I'd have checked on him all day long. But yes, I mean, I just wished I could have went in there and checked on her.
And as millions across the country continue to mourn this tragic.
Wild Loves. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Hang on, I'll put it up. We'll help fight your cease and desist letter. Oh, no. No, it's just TikTok. They thought that I was saying that I was going to delete myself. And so they're like, they literally, TikTok ended it, popped up a whole thing of like the numbers to call and like talk to someone now. And then it says I can go live again in 5 minutes. Well, 10 minutes, and it's been about 5. Thanks a lot, TikTok overlords. Losers. God, they're unbelievable.
Death. Jacob says that it's his faith that will get him through.
I'm just going to have faith in the Lord, to get me through this, because it's changed my life, actually.
Now, News 13 doesn't typically report on, but we started looking into the death of Mica Miller due to the enormous amount of attention and discussion created in our community.
Due to the swirling rumors about her husband, John Paul, and accusations against John Paul, police also released this statement, quote, "There are many factors that we have reviewed that have occurred over an extended period of time that are probably related to the reason for this investigation. But in the end, sadly, a tragic decision was made by Mica that ended her life," end quote. And John Paul's alibi? Well, he was with the woman he was allegedly having an affair with in South Carolina at a sporting event. Evidence certainly does seem to point to a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Mica Miller's father says no way. Mica Miller's sister says not a chance. They say it is impossible to believe the official narrative of Mica's tragic and untimely death on April 27th by self-inflicted gunshot. By now, we have all seen the video of Mica buying the gun alone, and we've all heard the 911 call where she tells the dispatcher her plan. But Mica's family says you just have to look at the video. This is Lumber River State Park in remote Robeson County in North Carolina. Mica's family went there in person, and they recorded this video, which was given to News Nation exclusively. And when they mention her estranged husband, Pastor John Paul Miller. They call him Junior. Take a listen.
So over here would be where her remains were found down the river, and then all the way through this trail, all the way up here, was where her purse and her phone was found.
And this water is not moving; it's just
Not at all.
stagnant water.
It's not moving at all.
So presumably, how would she?
There's no logical explanation with the.
Or just keep it on if you could.
The theory of suicide does not add up to me, because you're telling me her body floated all the way down this stagnant water, and her belongings were all the way up here. We had to walk down a trail, a separate trail, climb through all this mud and trees and fallen debris to even get to where her body was, down the water. It's not like she could have, left her belongings and walked down the water and then committed suicide down here, and then somehow the bullets and everything stayed over there. There's no
And the gun
logical.
was found up here.
There's no logical explanation for this.
The live round wasn't hit by the hammer, so it was ejected, which of course is not what you do if you know what you're doing with the weapon, and Mica does. She's not going to eject a live round to fire it. She already knows that it's ready to fire.
So you do not believe she took her own life?
I do not. I believe that it was all staged. I believe that the whole thing was premeditated. I believe that the narrative was established by Junior all the way through. Before there was a release, like the day we were notified, he was already saying, she did it, she did it. Why would you do that if you don't have all the information yet? Why would you not be grieving and just, he has not shown any remorse, no grief. He shows nervousness, he shows guilt. He shows, that he is hiding something.
But to Mica's father, Michael, he says the evidence points to more. And in an interview with Law and Crime, he explains his reasonings, including the knowledge of his daughter wanting a gun. She did want a gun, he says, but to protect herself, he says, for her own safety, after her tires were deflated and the tracking devices found after she suffered so much harassment. She had allegedly told her dad she wanted a gun to protect herself.
We're struggling. We're more united than ever as a family. This is something that has really caused us to drop any little petty arguments or something and focus on what's important at this moment. So, we have.
And she has such a strong family, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like she was close to her family,
Grieved.
So sad.
Off and on, but we've also been in fight mode off and on as far as legally and, speaking out for Mica.
Let's talk about that, because I want to be very clear here. Despite the findings from law enforcement that Mica had died by her own hand, that the sheriff's office saying John Paul was not in Robeson County when Mica died, do you believe there is more to the story, correct?
Yes, it's there's a lot of details that they did not cover, and because it was equivalent in their eyes to previous self-inflicted wounds, I believe the law allows them to do less work. It does not prevent them from doing more work. And since there were multiple shell casings found and a live round found, it already didn't make much sense. So it would seem that they would automatically do a complete toxicology, not just blood alcohol, and a complete autopsy, which they did not do. And we're just devastated that they didn't, because John Paul rushed the cremation process. During the briefing, we pressed pretty hard for more information and such, and the sheriff's office was trying to compress the briefing for us, and then they gave us a flash drive. It doesn't sound like Mica during the 911 call. She's so slow and so, but then later there are, I haven't even heard them myself, honestly. I have someone who's
I mean, that part, it doesn't even sound like Mica in the 911 call. It's too slow.
going through all that for me and filtering the information, because otherwise, the more information I get that sounds off, the more furious I get, and I need to be able to focus and control my emotions. So, but there was screaming going on and such, and that's not something indicative of a self-inflicted. That's sounds like a fight.
Michael says bruises found on his daughter's arms.
Oh, yeah. And that's the ones that JP said weren't real. Laura, thank you. Shout out to Mica's family. You guys are awesome. Absolutely. 1000%. Thank you for the super chat, too.
Along with scratches on her hands, looked like defensive wounds. Multiple shell casings were found near Mica's body, implying the gun was fired more than once, and there was even a bullet that looked like it hit a tree.
With the bruising on her hands and on her arm, scratches on her hands, indicating defensive wounds. So very frustrating.
When you say defensive wounds, is that something that was told to you by a medical professional when you talked about multiple casings there? Where did you get this information? And when you brought this information to law enforcement or brought it or mentioned to them, what did they say?
Okay, as far as finding out, the park ranger took us back to the scene and pointed out, here's where she would have been standing. Here's where the shell casings and the live round were, which also doesn't make sense. She knew how to use a weapon. She got the weapon for self-protection. She told me days beforehand, Dad, I really feel like I need a weapon for protection. And she knows how to use it. She's qualified. She's been through training. She's not going to charge the weapon and eject a live round. She already knows the first rule of gun use is knowing the condition of the gun. So we got the information about the shells. I did it directly from the park ranger, and then when we brought that up to law enforcement, they just said, well, they had no answer. They really just had no answer why, any kind of, not even a speculation. They didn't even say, well, she probably did this, probably did that. They just said, this is what we have. And there is what would be an apparent bullet hole in a tree, which I have a picture of. And they just didn't seem to put the effort forth. So we're very disappointed in that.
And the defensive wounds, was that from the park ranger?
Yeah, and that part too. Unbelievable. Y'all do me a favor, TikTok shut down because they're crazy as hell and the TikTok overlords are weird. So y'all do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 60 likes to go for 400. Thank you for spreading the word about this live stream. Hit the subscribe button as well. My name is Patrick. I'm live every night. Every night. So if you like true crime, subscribe to the channel, y'all. Hit that thumbs up button. Let's get 400 likes. Let's keep going.
Or two, or
okay.
Yeah.
No, we looked at her hands during the viewing. We took pictures of her from the viewing. It was the worst day of my life. And she had scratches on her arms and on her hand. And the coroner in training had the chief coroner with her, but she spoke out and said, well, maybe that's from when they retrieved her from the water. And I said, okay, of course, maybe. Was there blood in those scratches and such? They had no answer. Very disappointing. So I basically said the scratches indicate some type of scuffle or something, because the area where she was, there was no trees or anything anyway. There was no trees in the water. There was nothing there that would have scratched her hands the way they were. This. So, it showed, it indicated that there was, some type of pressure, that's where the bruise was. And just,
Her dad, Michael, also brings up how slow Mica's voice was during her 911 call. which is true. But Michael says it didn't sound like the daughter he knew at all. And he wonders if AI was involved, something that John Paul has used before.
She's a very happy-go-lucky, excitable person. And it was too slow. It was very slow. It was metered. It could have been done with an AI type of previous recordings where somebody would have had those words from her previously, or, you know, whatever. And so it just doesn't make sense that he wouldn't go up there.
Do you have a theory as to what happened? Because authorities are saying, you know, they crossed out his alibi of where he was. Do you have a theory as to what happened? And again, I know this is sensitive, so if you don't want to share it, I understand. But do you have a theory as to what you believe happened to your daughter?
Okay, well, I'll share what we spoke to about with the authorities, the sheriff in North Carolina. Also, as far as with his location, we've seen pictures of his truck. It had dark windows. Was it even him in there? Where's pictures of him physically there? We haven't seen those. They've not been produced. If someone else has them, we would like to see them to prove that he was there, because otherwise it could be anybody in that truck.
Mica had been tracked earlier that month. And it is possible, her dad says, that she was being tracked that day to the location that she was going, especially after she purchased the gun.
So the theory would be that because she had multiple tracking devices put on her car previously, that she was followed out to the park or forced to go out to the park, and they either follow her out there, or there's no reason for her to go out there. That's the main point as well. She's never been out there. We don't go up there. It's not a family spot. And she
that part too
was off the trail enough into a park ranger only area that nobody knows about. And so the theory would be that she it was either tracked, and then they said, well, we didn't find a tracking device. Well, they could have removed it at the park.
Right.
When the car was at the park and then it was collected by the authorities, they didn't check for a tracker, which blew my mind. They said, oh, we have all the evidence and everything. We asked them, was there a tracker on her car? And they said, well, we didn't check. And we were flabbergasted. This happened over and over during that interview. Why didn't you check that? We know that there was 3 or 4 trackers put on her vehicles. Why wouldn't you check to see if she was followed? They said, oh,
right.
There's no cameras, but we know she wasn't followed. Her car is just out here. And I said, well, there's no trackers. They said no tracker. I said, well, they could have removed it after they did the deed. So then Mica's mother, Angelita, she said, pretend this is Mica's hand. And she asked me, grab this hand. And then she pulled it up, and said, it looks like someone squeezed her hand and raised it up and shot. And there are defensive wounds from it and such. And that's the general idea of our theory, that somebody crushed her hand to hold the gun up to her head while she's fighting. Either them or someone else held her other hand or her other arm back, because there's bruising on it from squeezing. And they forced it to look like that was self-inflicted. And a couple of rounds went off during the scuffle. One ejected was live, and then it finally happened the way they would want it to happen. And then dumped her in the water, probably 40 meters away from where the shell casings in the gun was found. The water doesn't flow there. It's a slough. It's still. It just sinks. And it actually flows when it sinks, when it recesses, it goes the other direction from where she was found. So her body, even if it was put in the water right there, would not have flowed the direction where she was found. It would flow the other way. So it would be possible that the incident occurred right there, and the shell casings, and then the gun was dumped in the water right there. And then she was carried farther, 40 meters back, into a little bit more secluded area where she was found.
Mica's father's reasonings are certainly compelling, but at the very
that makes a lot of sense.
least, the evidence dug up by police, family, and sleuths points to severe abuse for years. that Mica suffered at the hands of the person who should have protected her, her Christian pastor husband, John Paul Miller. One of the most recent allegations of abuse was after Mica attempted one final time to file for divorce and to start her life anew. It was April 2024, just days before her death. And to punish her for taking this step that would allow Mica to take control of her life and to leave her abuser once and for all, John Paul used revenge porn, publicly posting
unbelievable
nude photographs of his wife Mica on the internet. And after he took the photograph down, he emailed Mica, and I quote that email, "I'm sorry for putting a picture of you on the internet. It was for less than 1 hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you were telling everyone horrible, intimate details of my past sin, and I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that." End quote. After this incident, Mica sent the following to her attorney just 9 days before her death. Quote, "Since the day we became husband and wife, I have been abused in every way I can think of, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, financially, and physically. He has harassed me physically and electronically with letters, phone calls, emails, and texts, hacking my emails, hacking my personal Facebook, and impersonating me, using my stolen phone to send texts and emails out to church members pretending to be me, texting friends and family saying that I am sleeping with teenagers from our church, and showing up in person at places around town, to having installed 3 different tracking devices on my vehicle." End quote. And on Tuesday, May 14th, a week after the Robeson County Sheriff's Office concluded their investigation, releasing their timeline and statement saying that Mica took her own life, to the surprise of many, they released another statement. Quote, "The Robeson County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with the United States Attorney Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in South Carolina since the early stages of the Mica Miller investigation. Based on the information gathered during the investigation and jurisdiction reason, the Sheriff's Office has requested the assistance of both agencies. No other information will be released at this time, and anyone with information pertaining to the Miller investigation in South Carolina is asked to contact the Columbia, South Carolina FBI office." Mica's family responded, quote, "The family is grateful for everything everyone has done to help find justice for Mica. They are aware that the Robeson County Sheriff's Office released a statement about the FBI being involved. However, the family has no personal knowledge of the nature of any FBI investigation and therefore has no comment. Hashtag justice for Mica." End quote. John Paul Miller, through his attorney, released a statement, and it reads as follows, quote, "The law offices of Russell B. Long, on behalf of our client, Pastor John Paul Miller, issues this press release to clarify the circumstances surrounding the tragic passing of Mica Miller. Following the untimely death of Mica Miller, unfounded rumors and false accusations began circulating on social media and in various media outlets, suggesting Pastor Miller's involvement in her demise. This created a buzz, causing local and national media outlets to begin proliferating these falsehoods on a mammoth proportion, and our client refutes any report that suggests he ever abused his wife. Recent reports claim that Pastor Miller groomed his wife from the age of 10 years old, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. She moved to Myrtle Beach at the age of 15, was married to another man at the age of 18, and divorced at the age of 21. It has come to light that Mica Miller struggled with mental illness, specifically bipolar disorder, which, when not properly managed, led to paranoid episodes and self-destructive behavior. Again, Mica suffered from mental illness, and some reports made by her in the recent past are nonsensical. The unfortunate reality underscores the importance of destigmatizing mental health issues and ensuring those affected receive appropriate support and treatment. We wish to emphasize that after a thorough investigation by the Robeson County, North Carolina Sheriff's Office, it has been conclusively determined that Ms. Miller's death was the result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This finding completely exonerates Pastor Miller of any wrongdoing. These baseless claims and false reporting have caused immense distress and harm to Pastor Miller and his family and needs to stop immediately. We hereby demand that all individuals and media outlets cease and desist from perpetuating these harmful falsehoods. Any further dissemination of defamatory and libel statements will be met with legal action, and a complete inventory of these defamatory statements has been conducted. Those that have to date violated Pastor Miller's right to live in peace and to mourn the passing of his wife respectfully, they will be held accountable. Those that choose to allow any previously posted or published false statements about Pastor Miller to remain in the public domain can expect to be served with civil litigation against them individually and when appropriate. Their media organizations and supervisors can expect the same. We all have the right to free speech, but not that speech which is false and harmful to the subject of that speech. Many media outlets have reached out to Pastor Miller for comment, and we will direct all further requests for comment be directed to attorney Russell B. Long at his Myrtle Beach office. We appreciate your cooperation in respecting Pastor Miller's right to grieve and mourn his wife's passing without undue interference or slander. Most recently, though, John Paul's ex-wife, Allison Williams, filed a motion seeking full custody of their 2 teenage children. Their other kids are adults now. And in the filing, Allison includes emails, text messages, and a voicemail showing Mica had reached out to her for help getting away from John Paul. According to the filing, Allison swore under oath the following. So Allison...
Yeah, this gets crazy, y'all. By the way, 24 more likes and we're at 400. Everybody watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the little thumbs up. Help support the show. I appreciate you guys. Let's get it.
Is plaintiff. John Paul, or JP, is defendant. Quote, 1. The defendant has exhibited increasingly unstable behaviors, failed to provide a safe and stable environment for the minor children during his periods of visitation, and has both exposed and involved the minor children in incidents of domestic dispute and discord, which have been traumatic to the minor children and not in their best interest. 2. The defendant has exhibited behaviors that are erratic and irrational. At times, he has forgone his designated periods of visitation based upon his own assertions of not being mentally well enough for the children to be in his care. The defendant has failed to seek treatment for his deviant sexual addictions and behaviors, which he admittedly confessed to both plaintiff and former elders of his church. Based upon information and belief, defendant has continued to engage in deviant sexual behaviors and has exposed the parties' minor children to an immoral and unsafe environment. 4. JP has exposed the minor children to his adulterous misconduct with his paramour and repeatedly involved both the plaintiff and the minor children in his marital difficulties. The current wife of defendant Mica Miller was recently found deceased. The tragic facts and circumstances of which have become a major focus of social media, local and national news. Against the objections of plaintiff, the defendant has discussed this matter with the children, and plaintiffs believe, given the totality of the circumstances, placing the children in the care of defendant would place them in imminent danger and not be in their best interest. Plaintiff further alleges that prior to the death of Mica Miller, she confided in plaintiff, sharing intimate details regarding the behaviors of defendant and concerns regarding the safety of the minor children while in the care of defendant. Plaintiff contends that until the time of Mica Miller's death, she provided a safety net for the children during their periods of visitation with defendant, and based upon her recent tragic death, that is no longer possible. Based upon the foregoing, plaintiff alleges that until such time as the defendant undergoes a full and complete psychological and parental fitness evaluation and follows all recommendations resulting therefrom, and a guardian ad litem can be appointed to investigate this matter and protect the best interest of the minor children. Defendant's periods of visitation and contact with the minor children should be suspended to protect the best interests of the minor children, and request that the court issue an order granting this relief permanently. As supplemental documentation, Allison also swore to the following. Are you ready for this? Quote, in 2015, JP was the pastor of Solid Rock Ministries, and I served as his assistant to pastoral duties. We separated after I learned JP was having an adulterous affair with our former nanny, Mica Miller, who joined our church at the age of 15, was married to JP's best friend, who was also in our church staff, and serving as our church worship leader at the time of their affair. JP told me that in addition to his affair with Mica, he had employed prostitutes, had been sexually inappropriate with several underage females, members of our church. He
You'll burn in hell for that.
You what?
blamed his immoral sexual behaviors on the sexual abuse he experienced for years by his father, Wayne Miller. The church requested that JP enroll in an extensive sexual addiction program. However, despite him promising me that he would, to my knowledge, that never happened. The affair between JP and Mica tore our personal and church family apart and caused an unimaginable amount of pain and discord in our lives of so many innocent people who trusted and believed in JP. At the time the church learned about JP's affair with Mica, the church was operating under the belief the old bylaws of our church had been amended and that we were operating under new bylaws JP represented and had been put in place that required the formation of a board of council members to approve any major decisions regarding to the church, including financial expenditures. When the council voted to have JP temporarily step down from the head pastor position so he could seek treatment for his self-reported sexual addictions and focus on his restoration, instead of following the direction of our church leaders, JP held a meeting and informed the council the new bylaws were invalid, and therefore, pursuant to the old bylaws, he had 100% decision-making authority. That was the first time members of our church had an opportunity to see JP for who in reality he was, and they became gravely concerned about his integrity and the financial structure of the church. As a result, almost our entire congregation left the church, and JP began his quest in recruiting new members and operate Solid Rock Ministries solely at his direction. After JP informed me that he had been inappropriate with minor female members of our church and disclosed to me the identity of these girls, I immediately
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
contacted them to encourage them to come forward. And although they each shared with me detailed accounts of what JP did to them, they were too afraid to make a police report or testify in court. This is so heartbreaking to read. When I learned that they were fearful to report JP, I went to the police department for the purpose of making and requesting an investigation. However, I was in essence told by police officials that nobody would believe me because JP was a well-known pastor and we were in the middle of a divorce. Without the testimony of the victims, there was little else I could do to prove what JP had done and to ensure that he was held accountable. I began to realize
unbelievable
the power JP seemed to have over leaders and officials in our community. And based upon having limited proof, there was no way for me to ensure that JP was held accountable and prevented from continuing to victimize innocent people. Given the circumstances, I decided the best way for me to protect our children was to reach an agreement with JP that contained terms I believed would ensure their safety and encouraged him to seek treatment. And to that end, JP had periodic periods of visitation with our children. However, we agreed JP's visitation with our daughter, who was subject to this action, would be restricted to solely daytime periods of visitation. And following my divorce from JP, he then married Mica Miller. And prior to my knowledge of JP's sexual relationship with Mica during our marriage, both she and her husband at the time, Jeremy, became very close to our family. Mica did not have a close relationship with her mother, and to some degree, I took her under my wing as an older daughter. I taught her to drive. I took her to get her driver's license. I allowed her to care for our children, shared family meal times together in our home, provided her guidance and advice as she began working in the church. Despite the initial destruction caused by JP's infidelity for several years, there was a part of me that was relieved to know that Mica would be present in the home when JP had periods of visitation with our children, and I viewed her as a safety net for my children. Although our children continue to struggle with the anger and disappointment they felt toward their father, often refusing to share visitation periods with him, for a couple of years, things appear to not be quite as tumultuous. But in 2021 to 22, things gradually began to change to the detriment of our children and have escalated to the severity of where things are today. JP and Mica began having severe marital difficulties, and our children were placed directly in the middle of this discord. JP would preach sermons on the Sundays our children were with him and present in the congregation, disparaging Mica and indicating that she had mental health issues and eventually putting her in a mental hospital. The children were subjected to JP calling Mica crazy one day, and then her being back in the home at their next visit with their father, assuring them that she was fine. They never knew what to expect, and the intense unpredictability and marital discord between JP and Mica negatively impacted them all. On one occasion, while picking up our daughter, I observed holes in their walls, hinges off their doors, and pieces of paper taped to the wall with negative affirmations about Mica. JP
unbelievable
told me and our children that Mica was delusional and speaking different languages and seeing things that were not there. JP agreed that it was not safe for our children to be in his home and for Periods at my request did not insist that they stay with him overnight. He would pick them up from school and bring them home after taking them to dinner. JP began spending time with his now paramour Susie, who was the mother of one of the boys that plays soccer on our son's soccer team. JP began using our son to facilitate times he could spend with Susie, which our children were well aware of, and their friends talked about it, and it caused them a tremendous amount of embarrassment. And when I learned JP was exposing our children to yet another one of his adulterous affairs, I confronted JP and Susie and told them not to let it happen again. JP called me the day Susie's husband died in an alleged drowning accident, extremely upset, asking me to pray, which was incredibly bizarre, based upon information and belief that just 2 weeks prior to this incident, Susie's husband had confronted JP and asked him to leave his wife and children alone. It is chilling to know that the spouses of both Susie and JP are now dead from tragic events. It was around this time JP's mental health seemed to be really spiraling out of control.
Oh God, please don't play it. Please don't play it. Oh no, YouTube, hit the like button real quick. We're 8 likes away from 400. Everybody watching, just do me that favor real quick. Just hit the little thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button too if you're new here. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, we're live every single night.
And he began acting even more bizarre. He informed me that he was getting into buying guns and shooting and had purchased a gun safe for his home. As a convicted felon, he is not allowed to have weapons. However, he managed to get a police chief from the church to assist with expunging his record. Further, he was given a special police badge that says pastor to utilize if he ever gets pulled over, so they will let him go.
Crazy.
With the constant discord between JP and Mica and JP's own self-reported mental health struggles, the thought of JP having access to guns in his home terrified me for the safety of our children. It was about this time that JP began declining to pick up our children for visitation, informing me that his mental health was not well enough for him to share time with them. Of course, given the circumstances, I
Imagine that.
would have refused to let them go. However, having it be JP's idea made it far easier and safer and prevented the necessity of filing a legal action with the court. One evening, JP informed me that Mica had a breakdown and was on her way to my house and requested me to hold her when she arrived because he had police coming. It was my understanding that Mica was trying to get away from JP because he was trying to have her committed again. Our children were at home and once again subjected to this severe discord. Mica began calling me for advice on how to free herself from JP and for guidance as to counselors and people to assist her. I prayed with Mica and did all I could to provide her with sound advice and guidance. Mica shared information with me about the things my children were exposed to while in the care of JP, and she warned me that my children were in danger while in JP's care. I have several recordings and text messages that verify this information, and it causes me tremendous concern about the safety and welfare of our children while in the care of JP, especially now that Mica is no longer present. I was married to JP for 16 years. Although my story and what I lived through with JP is different in some ways, many of the details shared with me by Mica are so similar to my own experiences with JP that I know she was being truthful. Based upon information and belief, JP's mental health and deviant sexual addictions have only worsened since the time we were married, and I do not believe our children are safe in his care. Since Mica's death, I have requested that JP not see our children. Initially, I was okay with phone calls and text messages. However, when recently texting with them, JP has inappropriately discussed the current state of events with them, sharing his plans of suing everyone and being a millionaire. Our children do not need to be subjected to any discussion about this current situation, as I am doing all I can to prevent them from being exposed to this massive social media and national coverage. For their privacy and protection, I have refrained from making any public statements or comments. Our children are highly upset and do not wish to have contact with their father, which at this time I strongly believe is in their best interest. My goal is not to keep our children from their father permanently, but until such time as he can undergo adequate psychological testing, follow all recommendations to ensure his mental stability, and ensure contact with their father is in their best interest. Currently, JP is being threatened and followed on social media by people from all over the world. Placing our children in that situation and subjecting them to social media coverage or involvement is simply not in their best interest. End quote. Well, the judge granted Allison's emergency request, citing the, quote, imminent risk and threat of harm, end quote, for the children. Hidden True Crime will be following this case. It is not over. And Dr. John will be breaking down his thoughts on Mica's death in the next few days. He has a lot to say. Until then, it feels there is only one right way to end this episode. And that is with Mica's own words, profound words that she eloquently shared in a public video left on her Facebook profile on March 22nd, 2004, a month before her promising life was cut short. It's a video that she left with this caption, quote, please share this with anyone struggling to leave a dangerous situation if they think that God will be mad at them for leaving. Hashtag abuse awareness. Hashtag God loves you. End quote.
Oh, man. That poor woman. Oh, unbelievable. Y'all, justice for Mica. Justice for Mica. YouTube, thank you for being here. TikTok apparently doesn't like me talking about Mica Miller anymore, so they shut the live stream down. Thanks a lot, TikTok. Appreciate that. Y'all, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the stream. I'm live literally every night. We talk about all kinds of different cases, too. Pretty heavily Mica Miller. The last few weeks, obviously. It's been one thing after another. So, yeah. But I love you guys. Thank you for hitting the little thumbs up button. Thanks for subscribing. I love you all. Thank you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be safe out there.